I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service. I've seen people vanish into thin air, and I've found things in the deep woods that defy logic. But there is one thing we are told never to talk about. If you ever see a random staircase in the middle of the forest, miles away from any civilization, do not touch it. Do not go near it. And for the love of God, do not climb it. Today, I'm breaking my silence. Here are 3 of the most disturbing stories from the deep woods. I've been in search and rescue for about 7 years. Most of the time, it's routine. Lost hikers, kids who wandered off, or people who just didn't bring enough water. But in every national park in America, there's a phenomenon that every veteran officer knows about, but rookie officers are told to ignore. It happened during my 2nd year. We were looking for a 5-year-old boy who had gone missing near the Appalachian Trail. We were about 10 miles deep into the forest. No roads, no cabins, nothing but trees for miles. Suddenly, my partner stopped. He just pointed. There, in a small clearing, stood a staircase. It wasn't a ruin. It wasn't part of an old house. It was a pristine, white, carpeted staircase, like it had been ripped out of a modern suburban home and dropped perfectly into the dirt. There were no walls around it, no foundation, just stairs leading to nowhere. I started walking toward it, but my partner grabbed my shoulder. His face was pale. "Don't," he whispered. "Just keep walking. It's not there." I asked him what he meant, but he wouldn't say another word until we got back to the station. Later that night, over a drink, he told me the truth. He said those stairs appear and disappear. Sometimes they are wooden, sometimes stone, sometimes made of glass, but they always lead to the same thing: silence. He told me about a rookie officer a few years back who thought it was a joke. The guy climbed to the very top of a stone staircase and reached out his hand to touch a tree branch. As soon as his hand passed the level of the top step, his arm didn't just go through the air. It vanished. He pulled his arm back, and his hand was gone. Clean cut. No blood, no bone, just a flat, cauterized stump. The man went into shock and never spoke again. Since then, I've seen them 4 more times. Once I found a staircase that smelled like rotting meat. Another time, I saw one that was made of solid black obsidian. Every time I see one, I feel a cold shiver down my spine, like something is watching me from the top step, waiting for me to be curious enough to climb. Story 2. My wife's double life. I always thought I had the perfect marriage. My wife, Sarah, was a high-flying marketing executive. She was beautiful, kind, and worked harder than anyone I knew. Because of her job, she had to travel for business trips almost every weekend. I never questioned it. I trusted her completely. Until last Tuesday. I was cleaning out our basement when I found an old gym bag buried under some boxes. Inside was a smartphone I'd never seen before. It was dead. Curiosity got the better of me, so I charged it. When it turned on, there was no passcode. The first thing I saw was the wallpaper. It was Sarah, but she looked different. Her hair was longer, darker. She was holding a toddler, a little boy who looked exactly like me at that age. Behind them was a man. He wasn't me. I went into the messages. There were hundreds of them. "I miss you, Mommy. Can't wait for you to come home this weekend, honey." The messages were sent to a contact named Home. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I checked the GPS history on the phone. It showed a recurring destination, a small town in Ohio, 3 hours away. Every single weekend for the last 5 years, she hadn't been at business meetings in New York or LA. She had been there. I didn't confront her. I couldn't. Instead, I drove to that address the next morning. It was a beautiful suburban house with a white picket fence. I sat in my car, trembling. Then, the front door opened. Sarah walked out. She was wearing casual clothes I'd never seen her wear. She kissed the man from the photo goodbye and waved to the little boy as he ran to a school bus. She looked happy. Truly happy. I followed her as she drove to a nearby park. When she got out, I finally stepped out of my car. The moment she saw me, the blood drained from her face. She didn't scream. She didn't make an excuse. She just stood there and whispered, "How did you find me?" But here's the part that still keeps me up at night. She told me she wasn't cheating. She said that 5 years ago, she had a mental breakdown and started dissociating. She claimed she created a second identity to cope with the stress of our life. But then I asked her, "Who is that man? Who is that child?" She looked at me with pure terror and said, "I don't know, Mark. To them, you are the one who doesn't exist." I went back to that house later that day to talk to the man. The house was empty. No furniture, no people. Just a single photo frame on the mantel. It was a picture of me, Sarah, and that little boy. But I have never seen that photo in my life, and we don't have a son. Story 3. The gas station at the edge of time. This happened in 2014, but I still can't explain it. My friend Tyler and I were driving through the desert in New Mexico. We were on a road trip from Texas to Vegas. It was about 3 a.m., and we were running dangerously low on gas. Suddenly, we saw a sign for a gas station called The Last Stop. It wasn't on our GPS, but we didn't care. We pulled in, and everything felt off. The station looked like it was stuck in 1955. The pumps were those old-fashioned ones with the spinning dials, and there was a neon sign that flickered with a weird green tint. An old man walked out. He was wearing a crisp white uniform and a little cap, the kind of outfit gas station attendants wore 70 years ago. He didn't say a word, just started filling our tank. I looked inside the station window. There were people sitting at a small diner counter. They were dressed in suits and hats, drinking coffee out of porcelain cups. But here's the thing. Nobody was moving. They were perfectly still, like statues. But their eyes were following us. Tyler tried to pay with a credit card, but the old man just shook his head. He pointed to a sign that said, "Silver or gold only." We laughed, thinking it was a joke, but his face remained stone cold. He then reached into his pocket and pulled out a coin. It was a 1944 Liberty half-dollar, but it looked brand new, like it had been minted an hour ago. Suddenly, the air felt heavy. The radio in our car started playing a song from the 40s, but the singer's voice sounded like it was underwater. We didn't wait. We jumped in the car and floored it. We drove for what felt like miles, looking back in the rearview mirror. The gas station didn't just fade away, it vanished. 1 second the lights were there, the next, it was pure desert darkness. When we finally hit a main highway and pulled into a modern Shell station, the attendant looked at us like we were ghosts. He asked where we came from. We told him about The Last Stop. His face went pale. He told us that The Last Stop burned down in a massive fire in 1958, killing everyone inside. But that wasn't the scariest part. When I looked at my fuel gauge, it was full. And on my passenger seat, there was a small, shiny 1944 silver coin with a note that said, "Come back soon, we're still waiting." Which of these stories was the most terrifying for you? Do you believe in glitches? Or is there a darker explanation for what these people experienced? Let me know in the comments below. If you want more Reddit tales, don't forget to like and subscribe to Redditly Tales. See you in the next one.